Hey you guys, what is up? Turumba here. Welcome to a little detailed look into Thrones of Britannia, a Total War Saga patch number 3. Thus we are talking about the build 1.3.0. So this is the second big patch, but as the 3 suggests, there's already 3 patches. The Allegiance update has been more or less being ignored by most of the big marketing drones, which was a pity actually, because it changed the game for good. And here we have it, Thrones of Britannia Steel and Statecraft update. Those names, man, it's wow, those names, man, those names. Anyway, let's go through it, guys. So, important notes: no save games were harmed in the making of this patch, which is kind of a good thing, because I do not know how we will proceed in general. So, there's not much to say here. You can just pick it up, and I guess this is what we're gonna do with the current Start Clut campaign. The part number 5 is already recorded, and that means I might throw it out a little bit earlier just to get up to date. Anyway, we will see. So here we go. If you want to read this, I mean, just read it. Feral Interactive. So yeah, they will be fast to do that. We will update you on the development date for that as soon as it's confirmed. So first big point will be estates overhaul. We see that picture here, and we don't really need to read all of that. The effing desires are gone now. The estate dire traits, which character previously gained, have replaced with requests direct towards to the crown in form of missions. So I do not know how it works now. I'm actually just happy that the desires are gone. This was more or less, with a couple of exceptions, but this was more or less canon in all the feedback on the forum. Every time they asked, people complained about the desires, including me, and yeah, so they transformed it. They are not gone for good, but they are transformed, and we will see how it turns out. It might be just, they might just colored it all green, and it will be the same in green. We will see, because but if you deem the noble ineligible or sense malicious intent, and you ignore the request, their loyalty will start to waver, which is basically the same result as if they have a desire and you do not fulfill it. So we will see how it how it turns out. It might be, it might be a little bit better, because this is, you have time to act. It seems like you have time to act. It reads like that. We will see how it actually turns out. So, added more weight. And this is quite nice. I really like it. We will have a look at this in a moment. But, so the estates have, each lord will list to the effect that they provide from a state they own. And this is quite a nice one. As I said, we have a look at this at a moment. But yeah, the second one is a little bit bullshit here. And this is moving estates around has been made easier. Clicking on a state will grant it to the selected character on the left. This has been there just since day one. I don't know why they actually write this down. This is just has been in the game. Anyway, here we go. Here we are in the estates menu. So you can see Alfred is holding 3 agricultural estates and is given him 3 influence each per. Each estate gives him 1 influence in general, and he has a bonus on it that is 10 food per agricultural estate, which is kind of nice. Then we see others who have no extra stuff, no Mali, no plus. Same goes for him. He has 2, gets 1 influence and 1 loyalty for each agricultural estate. And then we have, for example, Beorthric. And Beorthric has an agricultural estate. He does not really know what to do with it, and it costs us actually -10 food production per turn. So we kind of want to have this one stripped off of him, more or less with the negative stuff, with a negative trade gaining, maybe incoming. But on the other side, he knows how to deal with the religious estates, and he has 1, and thus, as a bonus, you get +3 faction allegiance, which is super good. But there is malus and there is bonus. So, how will you determine how that works? Vigla, for example, says his difficult, well, he is at 2. We're playing at the moment on legendary, so, legendary, but more to this later. So if we're gonna click on Viglev now, and we're gonna hover over an agricultural estate which is owned by Alfred, the Little Crown, then we see that it will change from Alfred gaining 1 influence and 10 food faction wise to Viglav, 1 influence, 1 loyalty. So just keep in mind you would lose 10 food. Anyway, this is what he would do with the agricultural estate. It could be that he is just like another guy, might be just like Beorthric, and he will do -10. So if, for example, we give Beorthric now a 2nd agricultural estate, we would lose +10, we would lose the bonus from Alfred, and we would lose a +10 more because he can't handle that shit. So we would lose 20 food. This is a lot of food, early on especially. Anyway, this is more or less how it works. Short jump over to meat, and it's basically what I really want to mention, and this is really a good one. I mean, it's not it's not really, you know, breaking any new things, but they have introduced the fact that if the king holds a religious estate, he gains no influence. Yes, this is correct, but he shall gain +2 faction allegiance. This was bugged since Allegiance update. Some people, including me, have reported that in the forum, but then the Allegiance update came out and it was still broken. Now it is fixed, and yeah, it just pleases me to see, you know, a bug fix. It's not a big one, but it's a good one. So he has 2 religious estates, thus he gains +4 faction allegiance. We are at +4 on him. He has 6 influence, thus we're gonna have +4 faction allegiance, and we do have 8 influence faction allegiance from the faction leader. 2 of this character, thus influence 10 on this province. But yeah, here we go. I like it, well done. So while this is a little bit of the moving state has been made easier, it's not have been made easier. It's you get more information while doing so, which is good because stuff is happening. You get malus and a bonus every now and then. Kind of depends on the general and on noble or governor, and you can see it before you do it. I guess every now and then you just have to bite into the bitter apple, and then you just have to accept that you lose. For example, as we have seen on Alfred and Beorthric, that you lose just 20 food. But yeah, just to deal with the loyalty. Traits. Traits depict the story of each character. Yeah, kinda. Anyway, there's now a book of traits, which is kinda nice. While I appreciated the fact that they, if a character, be it the king or a noble in general, gains a trait, he will be it will be shown. It will be just said gains from this and that, or gains from this and that and that and that. And this is quite nice. And they have just expanded on that, made it more or less visible more, and you have now a book of traits, which is up here in the book of traits. You just click it, and then you can basically see where things coming from, what it does. This will be basically a journal you fill out and you carry over through your different campaigns, which is quite nice. Overall, it's a good piece of information. I'm not sure if it's really super groundbreaking. I found the fact that they actually tell you gain from having positive income and gain from the cloth building chain, stuff like that. This is actually the groundbreaking stuff. This is just a nice little ad for more information. And if you, I don't know, I'm not sure if you have the luxury, at least on the higher difficulties, to actually create a character as you like. Nonetheless, I have had good experiences. For example, putting a governor into a certain province so that he gain a certain trait from a certain building, and then I put him where I need him really. So in that regard, it's a plus. It's not really, as I said, the groundbreaking stuff has been introduced by the Allegiance update in forms of that they tell you where it comes from, thus you can use it. That much for the traits. There's not much more to tell really. At least, and this we will see how that plays out. It's actually, as mentioned previously, each trait group will list how it affects a character's estate. And this might be a nice one. We have to keep an eye out of this. Let's go ahead and have a look at the Recruitment Revamp. This is kind of interesting. It's basically fan service, I do think. So they have recruited a recruitment revamp actually means that you can see when the next one is coming. We await your commands. Which means basically you're gonna have the X-Men, you're gonna take him, and then if you hover over it, turns to replenish units is 5. So in 5 turns you will be able to get another KO X-Man. That's basically it. I personally think the chances system worked for me better, because sometimes we had ridiculous situations where we had 100 turns needed, I don't know, I think it was up to 110 turns to get a second Thane horse, and we had or a third, don't watch my stuff, it's out there, to have a second or third Thane horse, and sometimes we were able to have 3 within the first 10 turns, and sometimes you have 3 within the 120 turns. So I feel like, I personally think the by chance system worked a little bit better, and I honestly don't know why they actually changed that, because this was one of the parts, nobody really complained about it. It was indifferent, or it was fresh. The fresh part is still there, or partly the fresh part, because you will also still get just a couple of guys, and then it replenished to a full unit. So yeah, here we go. So we're gonna go ahead, the general patch notes. Politics, political difficulty slider. For more challenge or to avoid meddling in politics too much, player now have the option to adjust the political difficulty of the game, separately from campaign and battle difficulty. And it looks like that. You have the campaign difficulty, the political difficulty, and the battle difficulty. So, since Thrones of Britannia is the first game where you can choose to have legendary battle difficulty, this is the very first game in the Total War series where this is possible. Anyway, this is not what we want to look at. If you have legendary enabled, you'll not be able to slide this, even though this should be grayed out, I feel. Anyway, you are not able to slide it, I just try it. Unless, as soon as you leave the legendary on the campaign difficulty away, you can slide here. So this is basically, you get a bonus on the loyalty. You get no bonus and no Mali, or no bonus and no Malos, and this is, since very hard, you get a Malus on your loyalty on every noble, well, governor or general, and statesman, thus, well, all nobles. Legendary seems to be the same as very hard in that regard. Well, yeah, and that's basically it. And it's kind of fine, guys. I mean, I don't know, the word legendary has been really, yeah, overestimated over the time. No fucking joke. Very often there's little different between a very hard and legendary campaign, except for a couple of stats, mostly public order regards. In this instant, I feel like, you know, if the loyalty system put you off the game, just lower it, and, you know, you're not a lesser human because you do that. Just, you know, play the game you like, not the game you might supposed to play. You know, supposing is bullshit in the most cases. Just do whatever you like. This would be the most sane thing to do, and yeah, you will have the most fun this way as well. So this is, I know a couple of guys who will highly appreciate that. Anyway, this has been the political difficulty slider. Secure loyalty tweaks. We've rebalanced the existing secure loyalty dilemmas and added a few new ones. This could be quite nice because some of those were really, I don't know, unnecessary bullshit thrown into your way. We will see how it turns out. The system will now take into account the political power, influence and loyalty of the target character and give the player an appropriate set of choices. We will see what they mean with appropriate, because, you know, I haven't gained a pre-release access to a fucking patch, mate. To a fucking patch. Not even. Anyway, torture is no longer the go-to way to express appreciation to highly loyal, long-time battle veteran. Well, this was kind of broken after the Allegiance patch. If you wanted to ensure, you basically just press the increase loyalty button. It was most of the time just torture, and this was just fucking stupid, you know. You had really good guys and you were kind of forced to torture them in certain situations. I'm glad they did that. We will see how it turns out. Buildings, alternative building path. So players have now the option to specialize their villages in one or two directions. All village building have been updated to branch out at the beginning level 2 rather than their last level. The old building path, wait a bit. The old building path have been left unchanged, save for some balance tweaks to make it easier for existing players. I wonder what that means is basically you're gonna have a choice what you want to do. Do you want to have more money or do you want to have more food? And for the Lord Fields, it's actually another choice as well, intertwined with the recruitment, which means if you're gonna go for the Lord's Field, which is will you show me? Yes. Yeah. If you go for the food, you're gonna have less money, more food. And at this point, if you go for the Lord's Field, you're gonna have +1 turns until replenishment for all levy units in recruitment pool, and -1 turn until replenishment for all retinue in recruitment pool. This is a pretty major one. Since the recruitment system has been revamped as discussed. So basically we had on the levy axis we had 5 turns for the next one. If we build this one, we will have 6 turns for the next one. But on the horses, I haven't shown you this, but it was 11 turns, so you could go for 10 turns, so -1 turn until replenishment for all retinue in recruitment pool. And this is pretty cool. I kind of feel like this is a little bit half-assed because it does not do it for any other food producing oh no, here we go. For the hunting one, it's the missile ones, but the cattle does not do it. So that means more or less for factions which have a higher amount of wheat fields early on, or farms, they will have a high advantage. This is, I don't know if this is planned as it should be, but I feel like the cattle guys should have the same opportunity. Despite that, earlier on we had the opportunity to choose at level 4 if you want to have more money or more food. Now you have it at tier 2, which means you have a pretty dynamic building system as well. Because you will early on go for the food and you want to switch later to the money. And this is quite nice. Together with the -1 turn replenishment for all retinue recruitment pool, this makes for a lot of new decisions, which I highly appreciate. So, yeah. And yeah, sure, I brag. I suggested this idea in the forum. Of course, I never get an answer. And it was not my idea, they will gladly tell, but it fucking was. So anyway, this has been that. And yeah, so overall there's a lot of small little changes. For example, I've just seen this one. If you go for the Benedictine Abbey, so tier 1, and then we can click it on tier 1, and then we have the Benedictine Prior. This is just the old way, more or less. You push up the public order, the higher the more, but you have now the ability to do a little bit priori store, and this gives just 10% commerce income. Overall, the income itself will be more, just the church income plus the 10% for commerce, but the public order will not go up as far. It stays at 2, and that is something, but you know, every now and then you need a little bit more. Nonetheless, church becomes actually an economic factor. This hasn't been the case since now in the game. Before it was always just, do I push up the public order in that province or not? And that has been it. But now here we go, it's quite nice. Same goes for the mines. The mines were always, if you have a lot of public order in a city, it was more or less like that. You're gonna go for a little bit more, but you have more public order problems. And this is now, it stays more or less at -2 public order, and it gives you a lot of industry money plus also commerce. For example, Somerset. could be a really money roller, and that means overall that all the Great Hall provinces, which are most common of or throughout all the map, are actually able to generate some money. And this is quite cool. It makes a lot of things way more interesting in terms of you can use the miner better, you can use the preacher better, because you actually make some money with the churches and stuff like that. This has been a very good add in my book, because actually, of course, you could snowball a little bit, but previously you just go for most of the money. This being said, and there you pick mostly commerce, but now you can snowball quite a bit, for example, in conjunction with church and other stuff. And this is quite nice. I really like that ad. Well done, CA. New building icons have been added to represent buildings with dual sources of income. Yeah, we have seen this just a second ago. Balance changes. The effect of certain buildings have been tweaked to make each building more a viable choice. True that, said that, quite nice. Churchcraft building now grant a bonus to income from lead villages, which is okay, kind of necessary actually, because lead was used for a lot of shit in that times, and yeah, it was a little bit strange that it wasn't in there in the first place. Churchcraft now grants income church instead of modifying it. This is a small one, but pretty important, because it actually allows you to build upon something. There's a lot of if you have there's a lot of church buildings which just grant a modifying bonus on top of church income, but very often that church income was not there. So there was a little bit for the cat. And thus now it's fine, because yeah, you have some income and then you can apply modifier. This is quite nice, I like it. Round Tower has been buffed to half the maintenance cost and twice the buff to income. This is quite nice. More or less also pretty much necessary. Balloon's public order has been doubled, yeah, sure. The Book of Trades, we talked about it, it's kind of fine. Yeah, not groundbreaking, but it's good. It's good that it's there. The groundbreaking stuff was really that they tell you what trades come from what, and that is the big part. This is a nice little extra. I will enjoy to, basically fill that journal. I like it. A couple of things. Just environment, new major settlement maps. Two of them used in-game for Bebernburg and Eidenburg, so it's, not really, it's a modification, more or less, and thus we will see how it turns out overall. It's a little bit okay, let's just keep it at that. So, a couple of new buildings for the new Viking and Anglo-Saxon buildings. I guess we will have a look throughout the campaigns. I will not go into that. To be honest, I'm fighting battles and not looking buildings. But I've seen a couple of posts in the forums where people talk about the trees, and those trees were not there yet. And thus, I guess a couple of house and architect lovers will be pleased by that. I guess overall for me it will please the eye and makes it a little bit more immersive without even noticing it, and truth to be told, we have to appreciate it. Here we go. They look kind of nice, all of them. Texture updates. Old Roman fortification have now unique textures that properly represent the building materials and techniques used for their construction and repairs. We'll see how that turns out. There's no need for me really to look into that. Battle. General attributes in custom battles. Players can now increase the attributes of their general in custom battles. The costs army found, not unlike experience upgrades of units. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. The general's abilities are now chosen from a drop-down menu. This is also, I guess, multiplayer and custom battles. This addresses the issue of bodyguards units being too small in size and weak. In Thrones of Britannia, bodyguard unit size scales with command. This is fine. So, battle AI improvements. Defending AI in sieges improved to respond better to attackers. I'm interested in that. We'll see how it turns out. To be honest, and there we have to be honest to ourselves as gamers. We use the exploit, thus, I have played a little bit of the upcoming Saxon campaign where I played with a house rule that I do not use that exploit, aka I will not hide units. And then use the siege tower to just grab the flag. And it was fine. It worked actually not bad. Overall, while using the exploit, the AI still, there was a point where the AI still had to respond, and we will see how that turns out now. But yeah, it's a little bit a pity CA there a little bit, because humans use the exploit and then they blame the game for them using the exploit. This is a bit of bullshit. I think, yeah, you just gotta grow up in that regard and know what you do and then take responsibility for it. Anyway, improved unit selection and bro, this is too difficult for me. Prioritization, what the fuck, on wards to favor missile units when a fortified position is not under threat. And we'll see how that turns out as well. We're not going to start now a siege battle to look at it. We will have hundreds of hours time to look how that plays out. Improved unit allocations to threatened sections of wards, breaches to favor heavy infantry. This is kind of nice. We saw, I don't know, sometimes the AI just defends with archers and stuff, where your siege tower starts to will dock, and then yeah, it's a bit useless. Let's see how that plays out as well. Could be nice, could be way harder then as well. Update siege equipment and wall gap pathfinding. Well, let's hope for the best, man. This is I do think a never-ending story in Total War. The pathfinding and the sieges. Yeah, well, good luck, CA. I knock on wood 3 times. Performance optimization. Improve the general performance in battle, especially during sieges. Yeah, we'll see. Unit stutter decrease significantly. To be honest, I do not know what they mean with stutter. I was hoping this is what they call, well, if you want to chase, for example, you send a unit after fleeing, a horse unit or cavalry, after a fleeing enemy unit, and the halfway through your horses just stop. I was hoping this is the stutter they are talking about, but it seems like I've played the starting battle with West Saxor, and yeah, no, the horse stopped again, and so this is not what they mean. I do not know which unit stutter they actually talking about. I haven't encountered any big other visual stutter stuff. We will see though. Visual enhancement. Add ocean shader, foam and edge. Well, if it's important to you, well done. Edit optional vignette. Yeah, from film grain of processing effects. This is one thing. We have now what it's called. We can have a look at the moment. Added optional God Ray effects. Okay, so here we go. This is what we're talking about. We have now God Rays, Cloud Shadows, and Film Grain. God Rays enables an effect on the battle map which causes rays of light to appear when the camera is facing the sun, partially obscured by objects in between. I see that that might gives a couple of good screenshot and or just cool feeling at a certain point. A couple of situations might be very much increased in terms of yeah, that you are basically embedded. What's the word? Inversion? I think so. I don't know. Cloud Shadows enables an effect with displays shadows from rolling clouds high above the campaign map. I personally think the campaign map shall be more or less in direction going tactical and strategic overview, and therefore it is fine if you don't have it yeah, so very much over the top. For example, in Warhammer 2, sometimes you have so much graphics and stuff and armies and effects going on that you can't even see if your army, if you want to besiege a city, can actually reach that city because of all the graphics. And this is just the wrong way to go. I'm not sure. If it makes something for you, go ahead. This is taste, I guess. And Film Grain enables a special effect caused by camera film that resembles old movies. Might be cool for a couple of things. We will see. I guess we will just put it out in the first moment. But who knows, we'll try it out, I guess. I don't want this, but the rest is fine. Here we have it. UI improvements. Governor Estates. The window has been redesigned to make it easier to use. Simply select a character and then the estate province you want to have them. This has been the case since day 1 of release. I don't know why they actually put it up there. This is bullshit. Notifications. This is true, and this is quite nice. The notification system UI has been redesigned to improve its readability and ease of use. The notifications are now located at the bottom right corner and can be snoozed, hiding them completely until they are needed again. This is what we're talking about. You have now the option to basically, this is what you will see at the start of the turn, and then you click on low loyalty. It's about Wiglaf and Rothrat, or however he is pronounced. Skill available on Alfred. You can put it in here, and if you don't want to see that at the moment, you just click here and then it's gone completely. But you have your number for the amount of notifications. 1, 2, 3. I like it. It's a good one, a little bit better to enjoy the map. I like it. Well done. Furthermore, miscellaneous, whatever. They are now a faction emblem on the screen, which opens the faction window, similar how it works in Rome 2. The old faction button is now simply redirected to the family tree tab. So you basically just get a second way to that, what you had before, but now it's the big faction button. And it's kind of interesting what they say is a large faction emblem. This is a large faction emblem. But overall, here we're gonna go. You're gonna end up in this in this menu, and you still have that, and you end up in this menu. So there's no big difference. There's just been one thing, which is I kind of feel a little bit more convenient if you click on the faction symbol and then actually it does what it's been hiding here earlier. So it's fine, I guess. All missions have now a zoom to location functionality, giving players a more detailed information about the target. The art element used for armies on the campaign map has been, well, this was halfway the case as well. but now I guess they actually, sometimes it didn't work really, and sometimes there was none, and sometimes it was and it worked. So now maybe it will work, and it's there for every kind of mission. The art element used for armies on the campaign has been tweaked slightly to make armies a bit easier to distinguish from settlements. In all honesty, I was laughing when I saw that. So here you go, man. You have a flag upon an arrow, and it shows the direction to the army. This is fucking too big. I don't know if this is. I don't know what to say. I mean, make this a quadrat, for example, or but this looks ridiculous. I mean, it kind of works on this one, where you can actually distinguish now a bit more, but it's not really better, you know. This is really stupid if you ask me. This is a really poor choice of design. I don't know what they. I mean, just make this different, you know, or give it a slightly other colored ring, or I don't know, man. It looks ridiculous. Here it kind of works, even though you actually, you know, you have to look there. Okay, there's an army. If this is your point of looking at it, then you have to follow the eye. The eye has to follow that pointing, and then you're gonna go to this point, and then it's more or less the same as before, you know. Yeah, that's a really poor choice of design, I think. And here it looks just ridiculous, man. It just looks, put a helmet on a helmet, and then put a helmet on top, and then a feather on top. I think it's very stupid, but also ridiculous, so I don't mind really. So next one of our Miss Angeles now is players can now choose to minimize the window with an overlay option that appears when the space key is pressed, so it doesn't block their view on the battlefield. This is kind of nice. We will see about that. During battles, there's now an alert when the model count of the general's bodyguard units falls down below 40%, which makes the general himself vulnerable. So this is valuable information if you did not know that. So basically you lose 50% of your general's bodyguard. Your general is not in danger at all. But now, yeah, you know more, and the game will actually tell you. Shield Castle, and this would be interesting how this plays out. Shield Castle now properly articulates that unit in this stance tire at reduced rate. So this is really interesting, and this might be a real game changer actually, because you can do a lot of stuff with that, and it's very important that you keep your guys in Shield Castle while defending against a big AI army in a walled city. So this could potentially change a lot, and I'm looking forward to actually try that. But this will be an interesting and important one if the effect is heavy. So mod support. The recruitment window can now accommodate any number of custom units with a scroll bar. Retail pack files now contain exported binaries for all basic UI components in addition to the already existing composite templates. This is a really, yeah. Is this really something that that CA actually should make? Shouldn't be the modder able to provide this from themselves? But no, we are at a point where, yeah, this is called mod support. This is a weird thing. Don't get me wrong, it is more than there was before, but you know, it's basically they decide if you eat the soup with a fork or a spoon. You know, they're not saying, well, choose freely, or this is the kitchen, have fun. No. They're cooking the food, they're bringing it to the table, And then, if they are nice, they're gonna provide you, and this is the nice part, they provide you with a spoon. So, it's weird, guys. Times have changed. Times have fucking changed. Other changes, inactive achievements, fix certain achievements that become unobtainable with the Allegiance update, Stone of Destiny missions, reward increase significantly, other fixes, Northumbrian male Thanes and Northumbrian Thanes have now swiped around. May have fixed an UI issue where, well, this is not really interesting to me. If you want to read it, yeah, the one thing is just underlining what we had already. All missions now properly specify their target. Yeah. Something we can have a look at. Adjustments have been made to the scripted declarations of war from the AI. We've balanced the weight of the different factors that lead to a war, so that it's more contextual and relevant to the current state of the campaign, which is kind of interesting. So with the Allegiance update, they basically... So let me start where it actually started. Basically, 1.0 and 1.1. People were complaining about the fact that you can pick your fights via diplomacy. You would just say, yo, let's be friends, and the other guy on the other side I will fight. This is actually how things are going, but well, people said this was too easy. So what they changed with the Allegiance update was the AI just backstabbed you. It doesn't matter if you had a military alliance or a defensive pact or a declaration of friendship. They just didn't give a shit if they saw an opportunity or just willy-nilly random. They just declared war, and people were pissed about that. So let's just recap. People were pissed about that it's too easy, then they make it more difficult, and people are pissed about that it's too difficult. What the fuck, guys? Anyway, now I guess this is basically trying to do this a little bit more. There's the scripted declarations of war, and overall we have balanced the weight of the different factors to lead to a war, so that it's more contextual and relevant to the current state of the campaign. So I do not know for sure if the second sentence is also just talking about the scripted stuff. But overall, it has been addressed, and I think this is fine. Yeah, guys. So, on a personal note, kind of nice to see that several stuff of my feedback went into the game now. This makes me feel warm and fuzzy. We're talking about religious estates. We're talking about have the choices from the buildings at level 2, because then you have kind of a dynamic system, and a couple of other smaller ones. Nonetheless, this feels warm and fuzzy. I'm doing this for the love of the Total War series, and I'm doing it to meet the community. But both of it has become increasingly more difficult in the last couple of years. Yeah. So if some of CA maybe wanna hear my words, well, this being said, guys, this is the end of it. We will see where this leads to. I will stream Thrones of Britannia further ahead. But yeah, and there is a lot of fan service going on, let's face it. They really try. I think a couple of things a little bit too hard. Some feedback has been neglected. I guess this is also just nature of the game. Would have been nice. Nonetheless, there has been changes to the game. They will be interesting to play, and then we can rant at the screen when we play it and actually encounter it, which is what we're gonna do. Anyway, guys, this has been me. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, share the video. This is a very much in-depth, detail, talk about that new update. And therefore, I say, wherever you are, do have a nice one. Goodbye.